My name is Fumi Falano. I'm the Director of Women Empowerment and Legal Aid, a non-governmental organization that defends the rights of women in Nigeria. This evening, like we do usually, we'll be bringing to you your rights, the rights of women under the Nigerian laws, and how you can enforce your rights. I will be right back. Welcome back, listeners and viewers. This evening we will be discussing the acts of sexual violence in the society. Now, specifically, what we want to discuss this evening is the act of rape. Now, you will agree with me that in Nigeria, of recent, the acts of rape, especially the rape of underage girls, has become so worrisome, increasingly worrisome. Every time you open page 4 of Punch newspaper or you listen to news, you hear of various stories of underage girls that are sexually abused. Now, what is rape? The act of rape is a sexual relation or having carnal knowledge of a girl or a woman without the consent of that person. Now, it is an act of violence, sexual abuse. Now, under VAP, that is the new law that was sent into law in 2015, rape has even gone beyond the act of having a sexual carnal knowledge of a girl through the private part. It has now become any entry into any hole in the parts of either a boy or a girl. In other words, we are talking about an abuse sexually, either homosexual abuse, that is abusing a boy child, or heterosexual abuse, abusing a girl child. Whichever way or whichever form of abuse, all these forms of abuses are illegal and they are criminal offense under VAP. Now, if I want to say that for women who are watching me, your girl children are more vulnerable to this act or to this evil act of sexual abuse. And that is why I want to start by asking women in the home, parents in the home, to please put it in the minds of your girl children that when they notice a man that is a potential rapist, a potential person that can rape them, you notice by the disposition and the countenance of the man, please let them run away from such people. And we are also talking about their comportment, how they comport themselves in the presence of men. A girl child should also be taught right from the cradle not to allow her body to be touched anyhow by the opposite sex. A girl child should also be taught not to allow a man, irrespective of the relationship that he may think he has with her, to allow the man to keep or to ask her to sit on his lap. These are various forms of getting into the girl child who is innocent and may not suspect what is coming. And in the gathering, in the social gathering, or in a place where she needs to interact with the man, she should also know how to comport herself and to protect herself against such acts. Now, what are you expected to do if unfortunately you find yourself a victim? The first thing is, please make sure that your underpants is not washed, and do not take your own bath. Do not wash yourself or wash your private part or wash the underpart, because these are the primary evidence that we need in prosecuting this case. Then the next step is go and report to the police. After reporting to the police, you go for medical checkup. It is desirable to go for medical checkup so that if there is the danger of any sexually transmitted disease or any form of pregnancy, it will be detected at this stage, and that will be guided against. So when you go to the medical center, you will be tested for possible form of infection, and from there the report of the medical test is also part of the evidence that we need to use in court. After this, the police continues investigation. And when we have noticed that one of the problems we have in prosecuting rape cases is that people do not speak out. They do not speak out because they feel if they speak out, there is the stigma of being raped, and people will not want to marry them in future, or they become an outcast. But I want to tell you, viewers, it is better to speak out. It is better to get the criminal prosecuted, and it is better to bring them to book. When you bring a criminal to book, it deters other potential criminals. It makes people in the society to also know that they cannot continue to do this and get away with it. We have also discovered, and I think the laws are developing in this area now, that in those days it will be required that the evidence of the girl who was raped is corroborated by another person, the third party. But we have discovered that this is usually very difficult, because a case of rape is not like a dinner party that you invite people to come and see and celebrate with you. So most of these issues happen when nobody is around. Viewers, I will be right back. Back to our discussion. So when we talk of prosecuting the case of rape, we therefore must know that it is usually very difficult to get a third party that will corroborate the evidence of the victim. And so in the past, in the years, in the cases of the past, before the development of laws in this area, it will be required that somebody, a third party, should corroborate the evidence of the girl. And so for this, many criminals got away with this offense, and they were discharged because of lack of corroboration. But because of this, the law has developed in this area, and the law has also stated now that the evidence of the girl child need not be corroborated, because, like I said earlier, a rape case is not like a dinner party that you invite people to come and watch or to come and be part of it. So usually nobody is around. It's usually done in secrecy. And so the courts have continued to take judicial notice of this. And we say, when we have overwhelming evidence from the underpants and the body of the victim to connect, and perhaps the specimen of the deposit in the body that has been taken is connected to the man, and all the evidence is linked to the offender, then the offender can be convicted. But we have also noticed that people do not know what they are expected to do. That is why I want to tell you that the first thing is, please make sure you do not take your bath. Preserve your underpants because they are your evidence. Then go to the medical center. We have the medical center at the General Hospital, Mirabel Center. Cases of rape, the victims of rape are treated free. Nobody is going to collect money from you. If you have the courage to go, please put the courage inside of you and go there to explain yourself. So when they give you medical checkup and investigation, the police can continue with their investigation, and the case will be charged to court. But the most important thing I want to tell you is, protect yourself against this act. Notice the man that may be a potential danger to you and run away from him. Teach your children how to identify the men. Usually you say uncle so because of our culture. The extended family culture in Africa has made it such that extended family members cohabit and live with young children in the same family, and they perpetrate evil because their parents will usually assume. Please, parents, I want to beg you, do not assume that people who you think are your blood brothers living, or your blood relations, extended members of your family living in your house, may be dangerous to your girl child. Don't leave your girl child alone in the hands of an opposite sex. It is dangerous. And when you also notice a girl child in your vicinity that is undergoing sexual abuse, we have seen the cases, we have heard about cases of stepfathers abusing their stepchildren, even biological fathers abusing sexually their biological children. These are very absurd. They are anomalies that are happening in the society, and so do not assume that this cannot happen. When you notice any acts of sexual abuse, or when you notice, you discover anything pointing to that direction, please take to your head, take a sensible flight, and do not hesitate to report any case in your vicinity, in your surrounding, to the police, to a non-governmental organization around you, because we are your brother's keeper. Until next week, I want to wish you a wonderful evening, and please remember, keep yourself away from the dangerous and potential person that can sexually abuse you. Train your children how to comport themselves in the presence of the opposite sex. Until next week, I say have a wonderful evening. God bless you.
Are you nursing the ambition of playing football at the highest level combined with academic pursuits?